Welcome, Marika. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. Gosh,
Yeah,
you were reading that, and I was like, man, it would suck to be her. And I was like, damn, that's me.
it's you doing some amazing things. I mean, well, let's start off first by having that conversation around, in life. There's always these moments. We're driving along, if you will, this perfect road, and then suddenly there is that fork. There's a turn, or there's a rerouting required. For you in that moment when the rerouting had to happen, you got that word from the doctor. What were your immediate thoughts in that moment? I guess I should ask.
Oh gosh. Well, I'll lead up to that by saying that I started getting mammograms at age 38. So I had three mammograms. It was after my third one that I thought that I felt a lump. I did what all of us would do. I immediately went to the doctor. They were like, well, you got three clear mammograms, and we don't think this, is just normal breast tissue changes. Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, I mean, what was I supposed to do? So it was another 6 months before I was scheduled for my next mammogram, and I had that. I got the results back in the mail. I was kind of anxious about it, but it said the same as all the other ones, that I was a one on a scale of 1 to 5. I had no evidence of cancer and no changes from prior mammograms. So I was like, okay, thank God. So I thought that was it. But a few days went by, and my husband and I were going to bed. It was a Sunday, and I just like reached across to kiss him goodnight, and I must have grazed across where that lump was. And all of a sudden, it was like, swing. It's like I had this like sense of terror that just like shot through my body, and it still gives me goosebumps today. Hair was up on the back of my neck. I was just like really, really rattled, and I couldn't understand what was going on. And so I was trying to retrace my thoughts. What was I thinking about, that made me feel like this all of a sudden? And it's then I kind of put it together that I thought it was when I touched where that lump was. So that was Sunday. I told Brian, I said, tomorrow, I said, I'm going to demand I do a biopsy. So Monday I had a biopsy. Friday I had a cancer diagnosis. And at that point, I was already stage 3. My lymph nodes were already fully involved. And yeah, that's kind of how it started for me. So I was really, really rattled. I felt really let down by feeling that I had done everything that I was supposed to do. I mean, I even started my mammograms early, and then to find that out, and then to find out like so far into it. And the radiologist actually told us that once they knew what and where they were looking, they were able to find the tumor in all of my mammograms. And they estimated that I had had cancer for 6 to 8 years at that point.
Oh my goodness! Wow. So, what a testament for anybody actually, as far as having that deep sense, that deep intuition of knowing something is not right, and then having the foresight to take action on that right away. Because had you just listened, it might be a different story.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't conventional medicine. It wasn't technology. It wasn't a physician that diagnosed my cancer. It was my own intuition that did. And it's confusing because it's hard to tell the difference between what's intuition and what's fear, because it can get very, very muddled. But for me, I've really had to learn to depend upon that sort of internal knowing. And I was already stage 3. It only goes to stage 4, so maybe they diagnosed me when I was dead. But thankfully, it didn't get that far.
Absolutely. And I think too, just in our conversation prior to coming on, and what I've been reading about you as well, there's just something that tells me in my own deep down intuition that the trite saying of everything happens for a reason, but that there is this big purpose, mission that you have in your life as a result of just this news that you had back then, and how it's transformed and how it's touching lives in such a tremendous way that you would never have been able to otherwise.
Yeah, I did a journaling exercise once. And it's going to sound super corny, and I thought it was super corny when I did it. I was like, okay, whatever. But I did it anyway, and it was basically that you're supposed to journal to your disease and then like dialogue back and forth. So I was like, okay, Dear Cancer, I mean, like, this is like nuts. Okay. And so I just wrote something and I said, am I going to be okay? And Cancer, then I was like, Dear Marika. And then I would say, yes, you're going to be okay. And then I wrote back and I said, but I'm afraid to believe you. I'm afraid. And what came next? Like, I've never forgotten. And it said, Dear Marika, do you need me in your life in order to justify making yourself a priority? And I was like, whoa, that was deep. And here I am, probably 40, 41. I don't remember how old now. But I'm thinking, oh my God, it took Cancer until I was okay taking care of me. And I realized what a blessing at that point that I was given the gift of Cancer when I was 40 and I still had all this life ahead of me, as opposed to being diagnosed at 80 and going, well, shit, I guess I could have changed it, but it's too late now.
Wow.
Are we allowed to swear on your show? I do that occasionally. Sorry.
You know what? That is such a profound conversation that you just raised, because there are, and I'm sure you know women like this too, and I don't mean to exclude men on this, but women tend to be um, do this to themselves more so than men do, and that is running themselves ragged and putting themselves last all the time, because there's always so much going on. There's always so much that we could be addressing, and in doing so, we end up missing the whole aspect of living every single day. And we'll get to how good, our dogs, what we learn from them in that regard. But it is amazing, and I love that you chose to take that angle or have that conversation and that exercise, because in doing so, it did kind of make you realize, like, wow, and it's true. And why do we all do this to each other? I mean, do you have these conversations with the people that you come into contact with around that? Is that part of what you're any conversation that you have around that with people?
Yeah. Well, our video on the dodo has probably been viewed through all the different mediums, probably close to 20 million times now. So we hear quite frequently, I say we, I always talk about Stella and I, so then I refer to as we, but I am a separate person. I receive emails quite frequently from people who have gone through or can relate to what's described in our dodo video, and they're like so relieved. They're like so relieved that they feel like somebody else like understands, the terror. When you get that cancer diagnosis, it's kind of like all of a sudden you're on a second floor of an office building, looking down at everybody scurrying around, doing their daily, bullshit little things they have to do every day. And all of a sudden you're completely cut from the herd. It's like all these little ant colonies are doing all their little stuff. And it's like, you're irrelevant to that all of a sudden. It's a really weird feeling. And it's like cancer was always something that happened to other people until it happened to me, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I never thought this would happen. So it's emotionally, it's got to be one of the most challenging things to go through. But I refer to cancer in a lot of different ways. If you have a drinking problem, a drug problem, a depression problem, if you have diabetes, if you have any of these things that kind of like intrude upon your ability to live life on your terms the way you want to, it's all cancer. It doesn't really matter. It's all cancer. And, everybody has their own highest tent pole. Have you ever heard that saying? Like, you have your own highest tent pole. So it's like you have all these little problems, and so picture them all as like little sticks. And the one that's going to get your attention is the stick that's holding the tent up the highest. And you got to get that one out of the way. But guess what? Like, as soon as that one's gone, like, there's another one and another one and another one that's stopping that sheet from coming down perfectly even. And it doesn't matter, like, whether I'm terrified because of cancer and I think that, oh gosh, what's that ache and pain and what's that now? Or whether my daughter is worried about like some other injury or something, that headaches or something like that. It's all the same. I mean, it's all transferable. And I think we need to recognize that as well, is that, you know, like maybe you think cancer, stage 3 cancer is severe, but to the person that doesn't have stage 3 cancer, whatever their high temp pull is,
Mhm.
it's still severe. You know, I mean, there's no, like, they're all equal, really.
Mhm. No, absolutely. So when you were running the company that you had, did your family have a dog at the time?
Um, no. In fact, my husband and I have been married about 8 years now. I think we've been together about 10. He's not a dog person. Before we got married, before we really like got serious, he like just told me one day, he said, I just need you to know that I don't want a dog. He goes, and if that's something that's really important to you, he goes, that's a deal breaker for me. So,
Wow.
you know, it was pretty clear. I mean, it can be any more clear than that. And I was okay with that. I had had a dog previous to that, but I really loved my husband and really valued everything he brought to my life. That I was okay with that. And so, what had happened in regards to like how it led up to me getting a dog was, just give you a little bit of a backstory. I ended up, we were living in Indiana. I ended up going out to Scottsdale for treatment. I ended up having a mastectomy here, and then it turned out that I had to go through radiation. I was also supposed to have chemotherapy, but I declined chemotherapy because my intuition kicked in again, and it was very specific about like that chemo was going to kill me basically. And so I was like, I can't enter into a treatment that I have this internal belief is going to actually be the thing that kills me. I can't do it. So that's a whole nother story, and that freaked everybody out. But that was just the way it was. I couldn't do it. My parents were begging me, you know, pleading with me to just please just do chemo. And I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so I felt the same way about radiation, but I did go through radiation, and I was pretty devastated about it though. I mean, I had to sign off literally on a page and a half acknowledging all of the things that radiation was going to do to my heart, to my lungs, to my this, to the that. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And the very last thing, I just burst into tears, and like it was ugly crying. The last thing I had to sign after all of that was that I was acknowledging that nobody had implied that there would be any success for undergoing radiation. And it just tore me apart. I mean, I just felt like so, like I'm saying okay to all of these things, and on the other hand, you're giving me nothing. Like there, you know, I mean, nothing at all. And so when I decided to do radiation, when things in your life are totally out of your control, I've seen this in other people, and it was certainly true for me. You find little things that you can control, and somehow that makes you feel better. And so my kind of act of defiance was to get a bike. I wasn't living here, so I had to buy a used bike, and I was going to ride my bike to radiation every day, which is a pretty solid plan, living in the desert in September when it's 110 out. But that was my thing. That's what I was going to do. So I had to set about finding a bike, and I went over to this lady's house that had a bike for sale, and I went inside, and she opened up the sliding glass window, and these two dogs came running in. And I got down on my knees, and one of the dogs ran up to me. It literally put its little arms on either side of my waist, and it just buried its head right in my chest. And I felt this whoosh. And I'm like, what is that? I mean, it just like this vortex just like opened up inside of me, and I was just like, oh my God. So I took the bike for a test drive. And as I'm riding along, I'm not even thinking about the bike. I'm thinking, can I adopt this dog? And maybe I can get a crate for the condo, and I could drive it back cross country. And I'm like hatching all these plans all of a sudden out of nowhere. I mean, getting a dog was nowhere on my radar before this day. So I went back to the house, and I asked the lady, I said, you mentioned that you were fostering this dog. I said, is she going to be up for adoption? And the lady said, well, technically, yes. She goes, but we've decided to adopt her for ourselves. So I was like, blah, blah, blah. But I knew enough at that point that the universe has perfect timing, and that it just wasn't the right time, and it wasn't the right dog or what have you. But about the same time as I'm struggling with radiation, my youngest daughter, Katie, she was 16 at the time, she was struggling with depression and anxiety, and the real prospect that she was going to lose her mom. And I had been gone for 8 months for treatment. So we had kind of become disconnected just to that process. And I got a call one Sunday morning that she had left a suicide note and nobody knew where she was. So I call in a panic back to my husband, and he says, "Don't worry." He goes, "I'll find her. Just don't worry. I'll find her." And he did. And we talked on the phone, and it was a pretty teary conversation. And we just promised each other, if you can show up one more day, I'll show up one more day, and we'll just do this day by day, and we'll do it together. And so I finished at radiation. I was able to go home a few weeks later, and I got home, and we still couldn't really quite connect. It was still kind of, I don't know, so much water had gone under the bridge, and so much had happened, and we just couldn't quite just pick up where we had left off. And so, long story short, I'm still have this black hole vortex, wanting a dog. And so, but I'm worried about it because I know what my husband told me. I know that, and I value our relationship, and I don't want to jeopardize that. But at the same time, I have this I'm being sucked towards, by a tractor beam or something towards a dog, and in particular a pit bull. And I've never had a pit bull before. And so I'm always looking at the rescue sites. I'm on the browser, finding, oh, look at this dog, look at that dog. And finally my family was like, enough already, adopt a dog or move on, do something, fish or cut bait. And my husband said to me one night at dinner, he goes, "Would you please just fill out an adoption application, for the love of God, just fill out." And I got an application, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And so I did. And they called me on a Thursday. They said, "You're approved." And they said, "We'll see you on Saturday for our adoption event." And I was like, "Oh God, Saturday, that's so close, and I'm not ready." And so it started.
This is in Indiana.
This is in Indiana. That's right, with the Fort Wayne Pitbull Coalition. So it started at 11. I was there at 10:30. Katie, my youngest daughter, she said, "Mom, can I go with you?" And I said, "You can totally go." I said, "Here's the thing. I don't want to feel pressured into getting a dog." I said, "And I only want to bring home a dog if the right dog is there for me." I said, "So if you're okay with that, we may leave without a dog. If you're okay with that, then you can come." And she's like, "It's totally fine. I'll stand in the background. You do your thing." And I was like, "Okay." So I get in there and I say a little prayer, and I said, "Please, God," I go, "don't let me just leave here with any dog. I need my dog, and I'm okay leaving without a dog." I said, "Please." I went inside, and the two dogs I had been there to go see, one of them had been adopted the night before. The other one was a total spaz, and I was like, "Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess that's it." And then I turned around, and Stella was being walked in the door. And I saw her, and I was like, huh. I went over to her. She was only 7 months old. She's in this very chaotic environment, and she just laid down and wanted me to rub her belly. And then these other people came over, and they started muscling in on my action with Stella. And I so wanted time, and I was like, I needed to process this and not rush into it. And then they're trying to take her for a walk, and I'm like, back the hell up, would you please? This is going to be my dog.
Yeah.
So I asked the guy, I was like, "Can I just take her for a walk around the store just to see how things are?" Mainly because I wanted to get her away from those other people. And I walked her around, and I went back to where my husband is, and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "She looks like a nice dog." And I said, "Are you okay if I get her?" And he goes, "Yeah." So we took her home, and I had expected that she'd need 2 or 3 days to sort of get, adjusted to the house and would be anxious or pacing or this, that, and the other. No, she was totally fine. But the amazing thing that happened is that on that Saturday, February 13th, she's my Valentine's Day present, my daughter and I instantly rebonded over our love, our mutual love for this new little being that had come into our life. And it changed our relationship. It changed our family the day she came home. And it's been changed ever since. I mean, she has forever changed our family.
you see the sign in my background. We were talking about it before the interview, and that is just so true. I just love this. That how powerful it is. The dogs that come into our lives, and they come. The right ones come. They really do, and they do change everything. The way we feel, the way we see the world, and even change what we're able to accomplish. And so that started the whole bringing her into your world and into your life, and shifting the dynamics of the family in a really positive way, which also has given you the power to build what you're building with the brand that you're creating with IncrediBullStella, and the work that you do. How did that start to transpire? I mean, how did you go from being in the situation you're trying to get well, you're doing all that you can, you bring this dog into your home, the family is shifting, and now you're doing all these things that are so impactful in the community and globally. How did it transcend from that to where you're headed right now?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of in between. And first of all, thank you for saying our work is impactful. We certainly want it to be. Um, I I just remember that Stella would sleep in her crate at night when we first got her, and Brian would get up first. He'd let her out, and I couldn't wait, and I don't think Stella could wait either. She would come running in the bedroom, and she'd just like snuggle up to me, and that meant more to me than I just loved. I loved that we both loved that, and we couldn't wait to see each other again. And I call Stella, and many other dogs also earn this title. She is a facilitator of human connection. So what happened with Stella is she was so impactful to me that I noticed when I would start to take her places, people would just light up. They just wanted to be with Stella. They wanted to talk about Stella. They wanted to tell me about their dogs. They like all of a sudden it's like they're like they'd never seen a dog before. Like, oh my God, what is that? I mean, but it was like really, really special. And so I'm going to all these places that I would normally go to, but now I go to with Stella, and now I'm in community with people that I'm living around, either it's at the grocery store or the gas station. It didn't matter where it was. People are now like we're now communicating. So I told this the other day, we went to a restaurant, and they know us because they know Stella. And I went there today before this, and they're like, "You didn't bring Stella today." And that's what Stella is. She's a connector. And we hadn't really met many people on our street, even though we'd lived there for 5 years. After we had Stella for 2 months and the snow melted, and we actually started going for walks and stuff, we met all of our neighbors. And I found out our very next door neighbor had been diagnosed with breast cancer at the same time I was, and had been struggling the same battle, and I have no idea. And I would have never have known had it not been for Stella.
So I had to hold on that one point for one sec, because isn't that the truth? Isn't these creatures on Earth are here even more so now, I think, to pull us back to the core basis of what humanity is all about, and that is connecting with each other, because we don't anymore. I noticed that too. We just moved into a new home, and I went to try to say hi to some people, and it's interesting how people just drive right down into their garage, and you just don't even know what's going on. And you don't have to know like all the details, but just have some sort of connection.
It's amazing. I hope this lady isn't watching your broadcast, but there's a lady that comes to the gym that I'm at, and I have to talk quietly so she doesn't hear us. But anyway, I'm kind of a friendly person. So it's like every morning she would come in, like kind of like when I was getting ready to leave, and I'd always be like, hi, and she'd always, just really never open, never wanting to communicate, would maybe just go like this. And like, she was shut down completely. And then I took Stella to the gym with me, and like in walked this completely different person. And I just couldn't believe it. And I told my husband, I go, look at the power of what a dog can do. And one of the most impactful things I experienced with Stella, I get a lot of goosebumps, and I'm getting them again right now, is I was in the lobby of a drug rehab center, and I had Stella with me. And in burst through the doors, probably 6 or 8, I don't know, 18 to 26-year-old rough looking young men. I mean, really, really rough. I was a little scared. And they walked in the lobby and they saw Stella. And the first biggest guy, he walked over to Stella. He got down on his knees and they were like this. And one by one, these young men dropped to their knees. And not only were they able to receive the love from Stella, they were able to give it back. And they were able for just that moment to break out of the hardness of what their life had become and experience that safe connection with another heartbeat. And it's like it's really impactful work. You know, I had Stella at a senior center in the memory care unit, and a very low functioning, you know, people in the memory care unit. And a doctor came up to me and he said, Hilda does not smile, but she's smiling right now.
Wow.
And I know that I'm in the right place. So we were at the hospital last week, and I don't I get a little triggered around medical stuff, or yeah, I don't know why, but so I get a little stressed like going into like patient room, especially in the ICU floor, because it's just a lot, and there's all kinds of funky things on the floor that I worry about for Stella. And so I mainly go to visit the nurses. We do nurse therapy. And this one gal said to me, we were leaving, and she said, I'm really shy. She said, but I wanted to tell you. She said, I've always been afraid of pit bulls. She goes, well, that is until today, until I met Stella. And I was like, can you say that again? But can I videotape you? And she goes, I already told you I was really shy. But it's like that's like the embodiment of our message is one by one doing the outreach work that puts us in again, community with other people, in communion with them, so that we can touch each other's lives. And it's a really an honor to be a part of that. And that's not me, that's Stella. And it's just incredible to watch.
Stella there with you today?
But,
is Stella there with you today?
Yeah, she is. I don't know if you'll be able to see her.
Yeah, she is. She looks like mine's laying right here at my feet.
Oh, she's wagging her tail now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of your pet projects, no pun intended, that you passion projects, let's call it that you guys are working on, and if you could share that with us.
Yeah, well, first of all, like the four kind of key cornerstones or keystones of what we do is we want to be a great breed ambassador for pit bulls. We want to show that softer, more loving side that so many people fall in love with pit bulls about. So we're very active in that capacity. The second thing is that, you know, there's a huge problem with overpopulation with both dogs and cats, especially here in Maricopa County in Arizona. You know, the shelter here might have 800 dogs. 85% of them are going to be pit mix.
Yeah.
Maybe I make a difference for that dog, but I'm really not making a very big overall impact. And so for us, what we try to do is to help educate and underwrite as best we can spay and neuter initiatives. Colorado, I understand, has a very aggressive spay and neuter initiative, and their shelters are not full. They're actually shipping in dogs from other places. And so I always say this backwards, so I'll probably say it backwards today, but it's like the best defense is a good offense, or whichever way that says. I'm not a sports person, but it's like we got to like tackle this problem. And it seems as though pit bulls have pretty big litters to me. Like it's not uncommon if they have 10 or 12, and it just compounds the problem. So that's number two. We sell our coloring book, the IncrediBullStella coloring book and story. That's on Amazon. When it sells, we donate all the net proceeds to the Arizona Humane Society, and that money is specifically earmarked for spay and neuter initiatives. We've also been blessed to grow a very large audience in a very short amount of time, and we want to be a good steward of that. And so we want to get in front of corporations that want to get in front of our audience, and then leverage those relationships to earn food or earn toys or earn money for organizations that are doing good work with dogs. And then the fourth thing, and this is really near and dear to my heart, is that we want to continue to educate people on the benefits of pet ownership. And you know, it's scientifically proven that pets help you live a happy, healthier, longer life. And we want to share our story to show people the kind of impact they can actually have.
That is amazing. Where can let's pop into the notes here where we can is everything just linked via your website, or are there some specific places that you would want people to go to?
Oh yeah, they can go to the website. There's pretty much links to everything there. They can get to Instagram, Facebook, our media kit, whatever it is they're looking for. See some of our videos. We're also pitching a reality TV show called Stella's Rescue Remodel, and we're pretty excited about that. My husband and our best friend, they do property flipping here in Scottsdale, and what we're doing is we're marrying together basically a home flipping show and an animal show. So it'll follow some of the rehab process of the home, but it will also follow some of Stella's daily activities, maybe some of her public appearances, maybe some training exercises, and we're going to highlight a crisis situation taking place at a local animal welfare agency. And at the end of the show, the property sells, and we cut a check. A portion of the proceeds of that sale go to whatever situation is occurring. So obviously, home flipping shows are important. Obviously, are really well regarded, and there's so many animal lovers out there that we're hoping that there's an interest in picking that up and rolling with it.
That's amazing. So do you, now that you have so many balls in the air in a way, but yet you are approaching how you do everything very differently probably than you did before by putting yourself first. So, what are you doing for you as you are
and this is this is a challenge for me, but I'm really committed to it. I mentioned to you earlier that once I hit my 5-year mark of being alive, which I wasn't given good odds of getting to, period. If I did chemo, they weren't giving me good odds. I didn't do chemo, but I made it this January, and I now allow myself to participate in my life and do the things other than just working. And it's a little bit of stress because I try to fit everything in, but there's things that are really important to me. I started in January. I decided the year 2018 was going to be my year, and I wanted to change my mindset. I've been pretty much sick a lot of my life, and I wanted to change my mindset from being weak and sickly to strong and powerful. So in January, I started working out 6 days a week, and I found these things on my arm, and you probably can't see them, but I've never had muscles before. I've got shoulders. Yay! Please tell me you can see them. I work so hard. But it's all of a sudden I told my husband, I'm like, oh, what is that? I'm like, look, it's a muscle. He's like, yeah, you got a muscle. I'm like, touch it some more. He's like, I already touched it. I'm like, no, look at it though. Look at it. So he's like, would you put your muscles down? So I started working out a lot more. I started dancing last year, which has been just mind-blowing, helpful and so many different capacities for me. And I dance 3 times a week, and I obviously make sure I get Stella out every day. So between that, I try to stay very physically active, and those are the keystones around which I have to fit everything else. Like yesterday and today, I mean, the only time I've even had to be on my computer is this interview, and I'm not doing answering emails right now. So it's sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't get anything done today, but I am doing all of this stuff, and
you're living your life. You get to do that.
Yeah. And taking the time for me to find things that bring me joy. That I was saying to you that, dancing for me and working out has become the same way. It's when I'm suffering at the gym, I'm not in my self-pity mode of worrying about this or worrying about that. I'm just trying to make it through to 20. I mean, that's what my whole focus is. And it may sound silly that it takes that sort of intensity, but that's honestly for me what it takes to get me out of some of my habitual worry patterns. And that freedom from that is just so beneficial to me.
So you said something, I had to write it down because this is really powerful.
Ooh, what was it?
It was, you decided to allow yourself to participate in your life. Mm-hmm. And how many of us don't do that. That right there is just, I think that's my favorite, would be a tweetable thing. If I knew how to do Twitter, my team's probably laughing about that right now, but
I'm sorry. I'm letting Stella out.
It's non-negotiable, and that those things are non-negotiable. Scheduling your life first, and
Yeah.
then in doing so, you see how everything else is beginning to fall into place. But circling back to what you said at the very opening of our conversation together, you referred to cancer as a gift, what you experienced as a gift. And as an outsider looking in and just learning about you and about Stella and about everything that has gone on as a result of that encounter, that life-altering sentence that was, spoken to you, it has been a gift. But not just a gift for you, a gift for countless dogs, for the people that you connect with because Stella's with you, and a gift for your entire community. So it's amazing. I just wanted to say I'm just so deeply inspired by you and your story. And Stella is so adorable. I mean, I just was just loving watching her on video. I love that Papa John.
Oh,
She's awesome. And so I really hope that you get that reality show. And I know it would be so successful. It's just too good to not be even considered.
And I didn't mention this to you, but we actually got a book deal. I can't say the name of the publisher right now because they're still working through the contract, but.
Oh, no, you didn't freeze right now.
And they're going to time the release they're going to hold it off until October, so it corresponds with National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, National Pit Bull Awareness Month, and National Rescue Dog Awareness Month. So
that's all in October?
That's all in October. So next October, not this October, that's when that book will be released, and it should be in Target and Walmart and major retailers. And Stella actually just had the photo shoot for the cover yesterday. And I can't even tell you like how, and I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way at all.
Marika, can you hear me? We froze. Or you froze? Okay, say it again.
Oh, I'm just overwhelmed and joyful that Stella is going to be on the cover of this book, A Pit Bull. And the working title, I think, is How a Pit Bull Saved a Family, and what an impact we get to make. I'm really, really deeply honored and privileged to be part of the journey to witness that happening. It's overwhelming to me.
Well, it is so. It's just a beautiful story. It is probably one of my favorites that I've encountered. In a really long time, and something that I'm truly touched by. So when your book comes out in October, I'd love to have you on our show again, and let's just talk about that book and feature that, because I think more importantly than anything, I believe wholeheartedly that we, kind of going back to what your quote says, we do not show up in this world in the best way that we can for ourselves on a regular basis for a variety of reasons, whatever they may be, whether it's fears, our own self-limiting beliefs, or just getting caught up in the minutia of the day-to-day. And there's something I always say, like in the mornings when I do my meditations, and this isn't something that I came up with, it was something I heard someone else say, but I believe it wholeheartedly, and that is the obvious. We only get 24 hours, right? Just like everybody else. And once today is gone, it's gone forever. You just will never get it back. So we get this beautiful choice every single morning as we open our eyes, another chance to create the day, design how we want to feel and how we choose to make others feel. And we get to do that every single day. So I really appreciate having this chance to connect with you here. I want to stay connected offline. I'd love to get to know you better. And I have friends in Arizona, so I'd love to connect out there too.
Visit. Yeah, it's awesome here.
Yeah, love it. And see, Geraldine, who is so dear, has been watching us this whole time. Thanks, Geraldine. I miss you. I can't wait to see you next month. She says, I'm dance big now. I'm assuming that you're dancing right now.
Oh,
Carolyn, have fun, probably. So anyway, we will be posting all this stuff in our group. Thank you so much. I want to tell everybody, please go to IncrediBullStella's website. Marika has some beautiful blogs and the best video and great Instagram, and you're just really going to appreciate the journey and hopefully take to heart all these lovely lessons for yourself, because it's
yeah. And I just like to say, we really appreciate not only the support, but every like, every follow, every share. I don't know how much people think about this, but every time you like, share, follow, you expose us to a bigger audience, to either an animal or a person that's suffering, that needs to connect and maybe hear our story. Not that I'm not saying that we're all that special, but it's like there's people out there that need to connect and know they're not alone. So thank you, everybody, for allowing us to do what we're doing, because it doesn't start with me. It starts with everybody out there wanting to share.
Absolutely. Well, it has been an honor to meet you via the internet and talk with you. And thanks for your time, Marika, so much. And for all of you guys out there, don't forget to sign up for your free the giveaway, which is No Dog Left Behind. And so perfect for them. And sign up for your Fur Covered Wisdom. Go to Amazon and get Stella's new coloring book. Support their causes, but spend time on their website learning about their journey. And
we'll be at Super Zoo too if anybody's there.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. We will be there. So
okay,
you know what?
There you go.
You get an invitation to our VIP party.
Awesome.
Before, so I hope Stella's going to be there too.
Yes, she is. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. That would be great. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Please share this. I want to make sure everybody gets to learn about Marika and Stella, and we all need to have a conversation with her every now and then. And read all their amazing things. So thanks so much. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.